Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Good to talk to all of you again today. And today we are kind of doing more sciencing for the Santa crates. So, yesterday I showed you the results of what happens if we were to only, let's say, target like the higher tier type ships, right? Like, we don't have a few high tiers, buy 1,000 containers, what happens? And we saw that sort of like weird net positive doubloon gain. So I've obviously collected a bit more doubloons for the sake of this experiment. And as you can see in the top right corner, that's currently the numbers. And this again will lead to some very interesting results. Now, what I've done in this experiment is I've basically sold all the 100 or so premium ships that I can sell from my inventory that is on the drop list for the Santa containers. Now, there's a couple that I couldn't sell, so you'll see that the Missouri is still here, Musashi is still here, Flint, and Ustra Shimi. There's a couple of them that are still lying around, but ships like Georgia, Palmer, Benham, those are all gone. Okay, and so we're gonna see what's gonna happen if I buy 1,000 containers, open them, and we'll see where that goes. Right. In fact, what you'll end up seeing me do is buy a total of 3,000 containers. So I'll buy 1,000, buy another 1,000, and then buy another 1,000. Well, obviously because of the limits, 1,000 open, then buy another 1,000, open that, then buy another 1,000, open that. You'll see what happens. It's actually very interesting. The results are actually pretty darn interesting. This is the only way I can put it. So there are some interesting surprises, I guess. In the whole sequence. So obviously the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to buy the first 1,000 containers. Now, there is this whole thing about there being a short list, a very, very short list of ships you have to get. Um, I'm not sure if they've expanded the short list. This is the thing, is like I'm not sure what's been done on the back end, but the Makarov thing, which I think was maybe present earlier on, maybe they've done something on the back end to kind of change it. But you'll see how it plays out. It's a kind of an interesting situation, and I'm not exactly sure how to describe it. I'll talk about it, I guess, at the end, and but you'll see. So I've got 600 here, 700. I'm going to get up to 1,000 and I'm going to open it. And, we can all sort of guess as to what the first batch is. What I will tell you is that the first batch that opens is not really particularly the great ships, right? I'm still short 100, so yeah. It's sometimes hard when you're kind of mindlessly doing this that you can like kind of lose count because you're not thinking about it right away. Okay, so here we go. First 1,000 of the Santa big containers. I'm also going to try to speed up the opening sequences because the UI just like has a fit when you're trying to open like 1,000 all at once. But here we go. Okay, so remember the ships I don't have. I don't have like Nikolai. I don't have Cesare. I don't have like the Fujins. I don't have a bunch of stuff. Okay, so here we go. First 1,000 containers. And this is going to get sped up because I don't want to have you guys just like spend a whole lot of time just staring at, this thing counting to 1,000. It will go like 4 times normal speed. Yeah, this actually was really slow in game when you're trying to do this, full 1,000, but it's a little bit better because yay, editing. All right, so here we go. I think I only got like the first 975, but this is what we end up seeing. And what you'll notice right away is that, yeah, there's an occasional like tier 8 that pops up, and there's one rare ship I believe that popped up in my first go, which is the Belfast did pop up. But the large majority of things I get is like California. I think just on the first screen alone, there's like was it 6 Californias, I think, and just on the first screen alone. The key came up a couple times. There's actually another California that's like 7 Californias. There's a bunch of Makarovs as well. There's the one Belfast, you see it, there's that one Belfast that did pop up. But yeah, like what you got in the first time around is, yep, there were like, a tier 8 here, a tier 8 there. There is like the one rare ship that pops up. I think there was like a very rare chance that you can get like a tier 9, but most of the first 1,000 containers is tier 5s, tier 6s, and tier 7s. Not like the super good things either. Like most of the rare ships you don't see coming up at all, right? Like you'll just see a bunch of normal things. So the first 1,000 containers, assuming that you're starting off with basically very little, is not super impressive, right? But what this does do is it sort of fills up your inventory of the crap ships. And I think that's really what has to be stated, is like the first batch of containers you get or whatever, the priority of those containers is to fill up all the really bad ship slots or whatever. That's like the goal, is to give you a bunch of things that aren't particularly amazing. Yeah, so you'll see me kind of scrolling around. whatnot. And of course, yeah, obviously the bottom collecting a ton of stuff. All right, so now that the first 1,000 containers are done, what happens in the next 1,000? Anyways, there's still another 25 containers because I actually only opened 975 of them. So the last 25, you also notice I got like 300k compensation from the doubloons. So I spent like 670, 2,500, and I got like 300 something thousand back. There you go, a couple more duplicates, another 19,000 in compensation. Okay, so that gets rid of the first 1,000 containers, and the results aren't particularly impressive. So if you're starting from having very little, the general trend is you're just not going to get that much, right? Okay, so part 2 of the experiment, I'm going to go back and buy another 1,000 containers, considering that now I have collected a bunch of those crap ships. And the second 1,000 containers has a very different type of result, and you'll see this right away. It's actually very, very interesting, because the second 1,000 now goes, okay, well, you don't have the garbage from the first one. Suddenly in the second 1,000, you'll see a ton of the good stuff popping up. And it is very alarming, but even within the good stuff popping up, the rare things, some of them still don't appear. And that's where this experiment, gets really interesting sort of, I guess, ideas as to sort of how these things work, begins to form. Yeah. So, all right, let me keep going. I think I got 700 already. Let me get 300 more, and let me open another 1,000. And this is after, like I said, the first 1,000 is over, and I got all the terrible ships, the Makarovs, the Californias, the ships that like nobody wanted. By the way, speaking of which, I'd almost make a wager. Maybe this is like not the world's best wager to make, but who knows? I make you a wager that's the reason why some of the ships that Wargaming releases are so crap. They just need bad ships to fill out, the loot crates. Maybe that's the reason why. Okay, so here's the next 1,000 containers. Okay, and I'm going to speed this up as well, because I don't want you guys to be sitting here watching 1,000 of these things go through. The UI is truly bonkers, by the way. You'll see how the last 1,000 I opened, the UI just bugs out. It just doesn't go. At least the second time, it actually managed to open all of them, thank goodness. But take a look at the results here, because the results are super interesting again. Go 995, and then go. This all 1,000 gets opened. But compared to the first 1,000, take a look at what I get in this one. It's gonna be surprising, I'm sure. Watch. Enterprise, Graf Zeppelin, Kaga, Indomitable, Graf Zeppelin, Lenin, Roma. You see all the tier 8s are starting to come out now? Palmer, there's a tier 9. Georgia's out, right? Massachusetts has come out. Champaign, Massachusetts, right? Bayard. A whole bunch of the tier 8s now are showing up, right? All the tier 8s are starting to appear right now. But if you look carefully enough, you'll still notice that ships like the Nikolai, ships like Cesare, those things still haven't appeared. So even though I got a ton more of technically quote unquote the good stuff, right? Like the tier 8 chips and the tier 9 chips, the super rare things might not have come out yet. Okay, good. Again, I got some more compensation. So I have spent, in terms of, I guess, like total, I've spent it's like what, almost 1.3 million, I think, worth in doubloons, buying 2,000 crates. But I've also, if you actually watch the real numbers go down because of the compensation, I've only actually spent like, I think it's like 500,000 or 600,000. I'm not even at that number yet. But anyways, okay, let me buy another 1,000, because like I said, this experiment is 3,000 containers to see what the result is, right? And remember, there is still a bunch of rare ships that I don't actually get the ability to regain, right? So like Missouri, I couldn't regain that ship. But Musashi, I couldn't get it back. So I would guess that what you're going to see is that like the last 1,000 containers, this is really where you have the best chances. So like most of your other stuff is filled out. You've got all the premiums. Basically, if you're a whale and you've like whaled for most of the ships already, and you've only got a few more gaps, the rare stuff or whatever, then you take your chances with the containers, right? And again, you have to buy a lot of them for this to actually work efficiently. I mean, you still get a ton of other junk. If you like scroll down at the bottom, you see like all the camos and flags and premium days and other junk that I get. It is significant, right? So even the chances then are still not particularly great, but at least the chances are okay when you're talking in the hundreds of containers, right? So, okay, let me get the last 1,000 and you will see sort of where we're going here. All right, there we go. There's my 1,000. Perfect. Hey, this time I was good. Didn't have to like check my port. All right, so you'll notice that, yeah, I do have most of the stuff already, right? There's just a few things missing. I don't have a Nikolai, I don't think, yet. Haven't got the Cesare back, so I'm still missing a few things. I even got like things like Remyashi and Belfast, right? But just some of the other things I haven't gotten yet. I don't know. Maybe there's some sort of like rarity factor or something like that, where some of the super rare things are just like so, outrageously uncommon in crates that like, the numbers are really low. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. Who knows? But it seems to look like that, because the first 1,000 were all the really common junk. And then the next 1,000 was like the higher tier, better stuff. And then the last 1,000 is where you like really start to see it come up. All right. So here we go. I'm going to open these containers and yeah, it's gonna bug out. I'm gonna tell you that ahead of time. The thing starts to do really weird counts. It's like it'll get to like 150 and then just like freeze. The UI started dying at this point in time. It's like it doesn't like the fact that I'm trying to open like this many containers or something like that. Oh yeah, it's around here. Yeah, 165. Yeah, the UI is just like no, this is too much. So we'll see. I mean, but you'll see like all the containers will have like the same thing because they've all been predetermined. It's not like every time you open one, new rolls happen. Take a look at that. See that? Cesare, Nikolai, Turpitz, Bama, and then you see like Alaska, Aegir, Azuma, like they see the bunch of tier 9s coming up. Benham, right? Friesland, all the tier 9s and all the rare things begin to come out in the last sort of 1,000 containers. Okay, let me open some more. The UI is still dying. This I can promise. Like the UI does not like you opening 3,000 containers. It like throws a fit at this time. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's like the RAM usage or whatever. It just goes like through the roof. It does not enjoy this. All right, so I had 165 opened. So I think this second round I was able to open, I think about 400 or so before the numbers start to trip out again. Let's see here, 450, 460. Oh, this one's actually going a little bit. Oh, there it is, 480. I got to 480 and that's it, I think. Can't go past that. All right, so let's take a look at this wave here. And again, you'll see like all the stuff that come out. Wait for it. There you go. Saipan, 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 Saipan. Well, 5 Saipans. And then again, you see Cesares and Nikolais, and now they're relatively common at the end here. All right. Oh, there's Fujin. Fujin came up. Benham, Friesland. The tier 9s are coming out. Azuma, Alaska, like a bunch of the tier 9s. But the rare stuff are like right here at the end. Okay, and we open it again. Let's take a look at another. Hopefully I can get the remaining 355 open, and then like, we'd be all good, but we'll see. Come on, UI, don't fail me again. Never mind. You can just be optimistic about the UI. All right, so here we go. Another 155. But remember, these are all predetermined. So you'll see like the same ships coming up over and over again. Yeah, Saipan, Saipan, Nikolai, Alabama, Turpitz. Look at this. Nikolai again, Cesare. But none of those ships were coming up earlier, right? So it's like there's almost like this weird order within the Santa crates. Like, that the way they do it is you get like all the common junk first. And then you get like the decent stuff, and then like the quote unquote rare things only happen like way down the road. So yeah, I mean, I guess it's like if you're like a super whale and you buy a ton of crates, or sorry, not buy a ton of crates, you buy a ton of ships regularly and then you're missing a few, like crates might be okay for you to like take your chances with. But other than that, it's basically it's a trap. That's like the easiest way to put it. It's basically a trap. And here we go. There's the last bit. Nikolai, Cesare, Benham, look at that, right? And basically, oh yeah, and another fun thing to look at, look at my doubloon totals. I basically bought something like almost 2 million, I think, worth in crates, and my actual expenditure because of the compensation or whatever is actually only like 500k or something like that. I don't remember what the initial number was, but interesting stuff nonetheless. Santa crates, there is a science to it, but you have to be able to test it in large enough numbers. Otherwise, you will never really be able to tell because it'll look like there's a substantial amount of whatever's going on, like luck, RNG, whatever you're going to call it. You really have to see it in like these huge numbers before you start to get a sense of what happens when and what kind of drops you're going to be expecting. Anyways, folks, I hope you enjoyed this video. Take care. Have yourselves a wonderful day, and I'll talk to all of you again next time.